there! Before we begin, please hit that like button and subscribe to the Private Diary channel. My mom died right after giving birth to me. Dad raised me all by himself. When I turned 5, he married a woman called Sherry. As soon as she moved in with us, she immediately tried to make us live by her rules. Her insufferable cat even used my toy box as a litter box. What do you feed him?
Good job, baby.
Sherry didn't know who she was messing with yet. Mission, get rid of my stepmother, was a go. First, I hid my canary and told Dad that Sherry's cat had eaten it.
Fluffy wouldn't have done that.
I saw with my own eyes.
Heather, is there anything you want to tell us?
I followed my dad's gaze and saw my canary flying behind me. It must have managed to break free. Dad got mad at me for lying, but I didn't give up, and I kept trying to set Sherry up. However, my stepmother managed to stay one step ahead of me every time, and Dad eventually stopped believing me.
We've decided to send you to a boarding school. I'm going to give your father another child, and he'll forget all about you.
My stepmother's words brought me to tears. I complained to Dad, but he didn't believe me. No wonder. It was Sherry's birthday a week later. She invited a lot of guests to our house. I was eating cakes under the table when I suddenly felt a terrible pain in my stomach. Dad, I'm not feeling well.
Honey, she's lying to ruin my party.
I'm telling the truth.
That's enough, Heather. I'm tired of your lies.
Dad didn't believe his own daughter yet again. I was feeling worse by the minute.
I think this girl is sick. Don't pay her any mind. She's faking it.
A second later, I fainted in front of all the guests. When I came to, I was in a hospital. The first thing I saw was Dr. Sullivan. She was sobbing and made quite an impression on me. Are you crying because of me?
No, Heather. You're going to be all right. I did your surgery and removed your appendix. You're a very strong girl. Get better soon.
A nurse came to see me in the morning and told me I'd be able to go home soon. Where's Dr. Sullivan?
Oh, she had to take some time off. But look who's here!
I thought that my dad and stepmother would apologize the second they walked in, but instead, they blamed me for everything that happened.
I hope you learned your lesson. If you hadn't lied to me so much, I would have believed you.
I was discharged from the hospital a couple of weeks later. Unfortunately, I got a pretty nasty scar on my stomach after the surgery. It's so ugly! I'm gonna be bullied. I know! I'll tell everyone I got it fighting with aliens! Then, I suddenly got a weird cramp in my stomach. It felt a bit like a vibration. Oh, my tummy did a peep.
Are you back at it again? Stop lying, Heather. Don't tell anyone that nonsense about fighting with aliens either.
While Dad was shouting at me, my stepmother was smiling suspiciously. She was definitely up to something. Soon, I realized that she was trying to get rid of me. Sherry kept trying to set me up. She would break Dad's laptop or draw on his work documents and then blame everything on me. When it came time for me to go to first grade, Dad said that he'd found a private boarding school for me.
I hope you'll mend your ways after studying there. Bye-bye, baby.
I realized that I'd lost that battle. My stepmother finally got rid of me, just like she said she would. To add insult to injury, Dad asked the principal to be extremely strict with me.
My daughter likes to lie and blame others for her antics. Don't worry, we'll turn Heather into a real lady.
The principal took me by the hand and showed me around the school. I suddenly got a strange cramp in my stomach again. Ouch!
You're a good actress, but I've already heard all about your tricks.
Since then, I never complained about my cramps again. Everyone thought I was lying anyway. I ended up sharing a room with a girl called Laura. We weren't really close until something happened in gym class. My t-shirt rolled up as I was hanging off a bar, and everyone saw my scar.
Oh, that's nasty.
Everyone laughed until, to my surprise, Laura stood up for me.
Are you dumb? She got that scar fighting a bear when she was camping. The odds weren't in her favor, but Heather was so brave, she beat it and survived.
She described it so vividly that even I almost believed it was a true story. My classmates were also impressed. Thanks, but there was no need to lie. It's just a scar I got from surgery.
I wasn't lying. I was embellishing.
One day before Christmas, I was waiting for Dad and Sherry to take me home for the holidays. But when they arrived, I saw that my stepmother had a baby bump. Did you eat your lazy cat?
I'm pregnant, honey. We're having a baby boy soon.
What?
You heard that right, Heather. That's why we would like to spend these holidays together, just the two of us. I'm sorry, but you'll have to stay at the boarding school for for the holidays this year. Merry Christmas, darling.
I couldn't remember the last time I'd been in such a terrible mood. I didn't doubt that Dad would forget about me the second his son was born. Besides, I didn't want to be stuck at school during the winter holidays.
Oh, sorry, Heather. I was imagining I was a ballerina and I didn't notice you.
I thought I was the only one who had to stay here for the holidays.
My mom works hard to pay my tuition. She can't spend Christmas with me.
Oh, sorry. That sucks.
Hey, don't be sorry. We're lucky. The whole school is at our disposal.
Laura's imagination was just as wild as mine. We spent hours playing, imagining we were super spies or fairy tale princesses. In the future, let's get driver's licenses and go to New York and write a book.
That's a brilliant idea. Let's write down our ideas for the book here.
Years passed and I turned 16. My dad and Sherry had a son called Percy. Dad loved him more than his car, more than juicy cheeseburgers, and more than me, his daughter. My stepmother turned Percy against me, so my stepbrother and I didn't get along. The only thing that kept me going was my friendship with Laura and our dream of going to New York. I even wanted to get a driver's license that summer. We had a lot of ideas for our book. After all, we'd been writing them down in our notebook for years. I was in our room when I suddenly got that same cramp in my stomach again. Laura ran in, looking like she'd been through a meat grinder. I tried not to show that I was in pain, and I asked my friend what happened.
I had a fight with Nancy. That toad tore up our notebook with all our book ideas.
What? I'm gonna tear her into pieces! I left the room to deal with Nancy. She was a terribly arrogant and popular classmate of ours.
I didn't do anything to Laura, and I didn't see any notebooks either. I did see that psycho tear her skirt and roll around in mud to get dirty.
Oh,
Heather, did you know that Laura likes Billy?
So what?
Billy asked me out. That's why your friend lied to you about me. Do you get it now?
If there was one thing I'd learned, it was to not jump to conclusions. I decided to talk to my friend again.
Heather, I'm in the shower. Could you bring me a towel?
I opened my friend's closet, and our notebook fell out of it. It seemed like she had tried to hide it. I realized that Nancy hadn't been lying. Later, I told Laura that I wasn't mad, but she shouldn't lie to me again.
Save your lectures for someone else.
The next day, I was horrified when I saw Nancy. Her hair was sticking out in all directions like weeds.
Someone snuck into my room last night and ruined my hair.
I immediately suspected Laura, and I asked her about it.
Maybe I did do it, or maybe I didn't.
My friend had crossed a line. I went to the principal and I told him everything. That decision cost me dearly.
You traitor! I was punished because of you.
The whole school must have heard us fight. It was so loud. The principal expelled us both. I had no choice but to go home. By that time, summer holidays had begun.
Since you were kicked out of the boarding school in disgrace, you'll go to a local school after the summer holidays.
I wasn't happy to be back home. After all, now I get to live under one roof with my stepmother and Percy. That little devil turned my life into a living hell. My stepmother must have told him to do it. I didn't even try to complain to Dad. He wouldn't have believed me anyway. Soon, I decided that I wasn't gonna stay there. Even though Laura and I had a fight, I still wanted to go to New York. To pay for my driving lessons, I got a job at a comic book store owned by Mrs. Stone. The woman's smile when she heard my name looked a bit suspicious.
You're hired. I have an important task for you. See the comic book store across the street? Those are our competitors. They opened their store recently, and now they're trying to steal my customers.
What do you want me to do? Mrs. Stone asked me to pretend like I was a customer, walk into her competitor's store, and spray their books with a fart spray from a prank store.
If it smells nasty there, all their customers will run for sure.
I'm not doing that.
What? Okay, sweetheart, here's the thing. I'm Laura's mom, and I know that my daughter was expelled from school because of you. Can you even imagine how hard I worked to get Laura into that boarding school? You owe me.
Are you hard of hearing? I said no. And by the way, I was expelled because of your daughter, not the other way around.
You'll regret messing with my family.
I left the store with my head held high, but before going home, I went to the store across the street. There was a nice guy working at the register. I looked at his name tag and saw his name was Chaz. Hi, just so you know, Mrs. Stone is planning a stinky revenge against you. She's not happy about your store poaching her customers.
We've been here for years. She is the one who recently opened a store next to us. But thanks for the tip, stranger.
My name's Heather. Good luck fighting that witch.
Are you all right?
It's nothing.
My mom used to be a doctor. Maybe she could help?
I don't think so. I've been getting cramps like this since I was a kid. The next morning, my family got a call from the police. They demanded we come to Mrs. Stone's store at once. Has a hurricane passed through here?
The nerve of her! Yesterday, I refused to hire Heather, and this is how she got back at me. I demand compensation.
Lady, you've lost your mind. I didn't do anything. That's when Laura came into play. She spun a tale about seeing me trash her mom's store. After that, no one doubted I was guilty.
Let me shed some light on what actually happened here. Yesterday, Heather told me that Mrs. Stone was planning on messing with our store. I told my boss about it, and we installed a few surveillance cameras. One of them's right outside and aimed at this store. So what? Have some patience, ma'am. This morning, my boss and I watched last night's footage and saw Mrs. Stone and Laura trashing their own shop.
Chaz showed the footage to the cops, and they got mad at Mrs. Stone.
You will be punished for lying to the police. You bastard, this is all your fault.
Laura grabbed the fart spray to get back at Chaz, but she accidentally pointed it at herself. Seems like someone could use a shower.
Heather, I'm sorry I didn't believe you.
I'm used to it. See what happens to people who do bad things because their mom tells them to?
Yeah, I won't do it again, I promise.
After everyone had left, Chaz came up to me.
Since we've helped each other, do you maybe want to hang out together tonight?
I'd love to get to know you better. Chaz showed me a cool park near his house. We talked for a long time while the summer breeze ruffled our hair.
When I was a kid, I used to come here to be alone. When I was 5, my father died tragically.
I'm so sorry. No child should have to go through that. Things were going great until I felt a terrible pain in my stomach. This time, it was so strong I couldn't get up. Chaz picked me up and carried me to his house.
Mom, this girl needs help.
Incredibly, I recognized Chaz's mom. It was Dr. Sullivan who'd done my surgery. The woman looked like she'd hit rock bottom.
You know I'm not practicing medicine anymore. This girl should go to a hospital. You're just stuck in the past.
Chaz got mad at his mom and called an ambulance. We went to the hospital. He was by my side the whole time. The doctor couldn't figure out what was wrong with me for the longest time until he did a CT scan.
Unbelievable. Heather, you have a surgical drain in your stomach. Have you ever had surgery?
10 years ago, Dr. Sullivan removed my appendix.
What? My mom did? Apparently, she made a mistake and left the drain in your stomach. That's what's been bothering you all these years. Don't worry, we'll do a simple surgery and remove it.
Chaz ran off somewhere looking lost. I was brought to another room to wait for the surgery. My stomach was in knots, but at least I'd finally found out what had been vibrating in my stomach.
Chaz told me what happened. I'm so sorry. My husband died that day 10 years ago. I was a complete mess. There were no other surgeons on call, and I had to do your surgery. And apparently, because of the state I was in, I made an unforgivable mistake. It was the last surgery I'd ever did. I fell into a depression and stopped practicing medicine after that.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but I can't forgive you. All these years I've been suffering and no one believed me. I was taken to the operating room. When I woke up from anesthesia, there was a smiling doctor standing next to me.
Congratulations, Heather. Today is your 2nd birthday.
What are you talking about?
During the surgery, we noticed a small tumor in your stomach. It wouldn't have bothered you until it was too late. If it hadn't been for the drain, the tumor would never have been discovered and things would have most likely ended badly for you. But now we've removed the tumor and nothing is threatening your health anymore.
Jeez, I need some time to digest this information. I had visitors the next morning. It was my family and Chaz with his mom.
Heather, I'm so sorry I ignored your complaints when you were a kid. Sherry's sorry too. Yeah, whatever you say.
Get better soon, sis. Thanks, Percy.
They told us about the tumor.
If it hadn't been for your mistake, I might not have lived to adulthood. So it was probably fate.
For me, it's a sign that it's time to return to my vacation. More like it's a sign you should do your job better. Okay, let's go. Heather needs to recover so we can go on a date. That was me asking you out, just so you know.
And I'm saying yes, just so you know. During my recovery, I decided to write down new ideas for a book. After all, my dream hasn't died. By the way, if you were writing a book, what would it be about?